Hello everyone, welcome to GAA Rounders show. Tonight we are doing a very special episode, the men's dream team, where we're going to put together, in our opinions, the greatest team of players that has ever played the game in men's rounders. So tonight we are joined by representatives of every team that has won the All-Ireland since 1998. So we have, quite a repertoire here of opinions and people who are very experienced in the game, from playing it as well as coaching and just being involved at every possible level. So from tonight we are dealing with, from Cuchulainn, Billy Connors. Billy, thanks a million for coming on.
No bother, thanks all.
From Erne Eagles, James Anderson.
Good evening everyone, thanks guys for having me.
From Limekiln, we have Eddie back again. Eddie.
Oh yeah, we go.
And from the Heath, Kevin Maher.
Evening lads, how are you doing?
So guys, we're just going to get straight into it tonight. So we've got nominations off all these, and we have apologies from Briefy, who sent in their nominations but aren't able to make an appearance tonight. But we're still going to be discussing their nominations as well. So our nominations for catcher tonight, we have Donagh Tracy from the Heath. He has 4 All-Ireland men's titles and 3 All-Stars to his name. We have Shane Murtagh from Limekiln, who has 3 men's All-Ireland titles and 3 All-Stars. We have Damien McArdle from Erne Eagles, who has an impressive 13 senior men's titles and 7 All-Stars. And we have PJ Kelly from St. Clair's with 2 All-Stars as catcher. So guys, we're going to start off with Ronan from Carrickmacross. Ronan, who are you picking and why?
This is probably a tough enough one for me, but I went for Damien McArdle from Erne Eagles. Just his stack of awards is unbelievable. 13 senior All-Ireland medals. Excellent player, and his performance probably in the 2019 final was probably the best I've seen from a catcher in a long, long time. Just incredible player. We couldn't leave him out.
Okay, so that's one vote for Damien. So next, Billy, we're going to go to you. Who are you picking for the All-Star here?
I'm going the same as Ronan there with Damien. So I am, what can you say about him? He's been one of the most consistent players over a number of years that he's been played. Even when the ball's gone past him, he's still able to catch it. So what can you say about him? He's just one fantastic player, so he is.
Okay, perfect. So next, we're going to move on to his teammate James. Who are you going to vote for? Are you going to book?
Yeah, well, just before I vote there now, again, I'm looking at some of the names here, some incredible catchers over the years, and to give a few call outs before I cut, Shane Murtagh from the Limekiln was exceptional from a number of years. PJ Kelly from St. Clair's, again, was a great player. He had 2 or 3 brilliant years. Donagh Tracy, again from the Heath, I think an exceptional catcher as well. Probably no surprise for this call. I'd have to go with Damien, the left-handed catcher. Cool under pressure, always makes the right call. Is in the championship innings, as I call them, 7-inning games there, he really comes into his own. And that 2019 and final, that access with yourself pitching, Darryl, again, that that was one of the key pivots that swung the game for him. So that it has to be Damien.
So next we're going to go to Eddie. Eddie, who are you picking for catcher and why?
Yeah, it's what all the lads said. I would have to go for Damien from Erne Eagles myself, but the mention should be Shane Murtagh and Donagh are 2 different style players for backstops. Shane's instant catching is just great to see, but the 2 very big hitters a lot to both teams when they're both in it. But on longevity wise, it would have to be Damien. The fact that he won 10 All-Stars, went away from the game, and then came back and then done it again just shows you the class that chap is. So yeah, Damien for me.
So Kevin, going to you next. Who are you picking and why?
Yeah, so I suppose just to cover across the board there as well. Obviously, a big fan of Damien, and down through the years, I suppose the one that shone for me in my early years would have been Shane Murtagh. And from the Heath, we would always, if Shane was away of a year, it was literally that fear of, is Shane coming home for the final? And you're kind of going, right, okay. But I suppose my allegiance on this one, I'm actually going to go with Donagh, and purely from watching the pairing between Donna and Dwayne from a catcher-pitcher point of view. Donna's awareness of how he would go for that catch that was, to most people, like just way back, way out of zone. And that was always impressive to me. Like there's none of the others that I've mentioned that you could fault, but from consistently watching Donna, I would vote for him.
Yeah, and I suppose just to give a bit of a shout out to Donna, that I know there was mentions of the 2019 final, and unfortunately due to injury that day, Donna didn't even get the chance to partake. So that was obviously quite disappointing for him and the club. And it's something that he has that every team will be afraid of is his batting power. Like definitely, like he's someone that can really swing for the fences. Like I know, like Damien is a very reliable batter, but I suppose on pure distance, we're probably not looking at the same profile of player. Like they've got their different strengths. But it looks like Damien is going to take that one. Okay, guys. Next, we're going to move on to the nominations for first base. So our nominations for first base are Damien Keane from the Heath. He's got 4 All-Ireland men's titles and 5 All-Stars. Our next nomination is Ollie Fitzsimons from Erne Eagles. He's got 7 men's titles and 4 All-Stars. Our final nomination is Philip Keane, who also has 4 All-Ireland men's titles and 5 All-Stars. So for this one, we're going to go to Coholland. Billy, who are you picking for this position and why?
I'm going to go with Ollie, so I am for this one. He's a very accomplished player, and he's always guaranteed to get to first base. And he's just a great base minder as well. And plus, he has a great hit as well. So Ollie's my choice.
Okay, so you're going on based on fielding and batting.
Fielding and everything. He's just an all-round player, so he is, in fairness to him.
Yeah, perfect. That's 1 vote for Ollie. So next we're moving on to Erne Eagles. James, who are you picking for first base and why?
Yeah, now again, this is a very tight call. Like Damien Keane, now we would regard him in Erne Eagles as an exceptional base keep at first there. He's a good target. Again, cool head. And again, a good batter. Philip as well is good. Good player again, gives a lot to the game. And again, like playing with Ollie for, I don't know how long we're playing with Ollie, Ollie again, an exceptional base minder there on first, a good target. Now again, probably playing a little bit with Ollie, and Ollie's hitting. Ollie has a monster hit. I'm going to shade it ever so slightly with Damien and Ollie, probably in favour of Ollie.
Okay, going with Ollie. That's 2 votes for Ollie. So next we're going to Limekillen. Eddie, who are you picking for first base and why?
This one again, as James just said, it is tight. I have different ideas of where I want to put another player, so I'm going to go for Damien. I love the attributes that Damien has to the team, and as he is, and he's very quick and he's very sensible when it comes to ground balls. He understands the situation and what has to happen at the time. Ollie is the same as well, and again, he has that monster hit and he'll do it. But for me, I'm going to go with Damien.
Okay, yeah, and I suppose something that Damien has is he's one of the few players in the game that actually hits off both sides. He hits left and right depending on the situation, so just kind of opens up the options for himself. Okay, so next to the Heath. So, Kevin, who are you picking for first base and why?
Yeah, I suppose looking at that, there's 2 of our players there, and while Philip, I wouldn't kind of naturally put Philip to that first base for me. I'd have him elsewhere as well. But I suppose looking at Ollie, like tremendous player in that position. But watching Damo, his understanding of the game, his flexibility, just in that position, outstanding. Like will rarely miss a ball, but his versatility, then, as you say, with his batting, and also like the way he just slotted into catcher role a couple of years back when we needed him as well, and Damo as the team captain was just instrumental in guiding the team and gelling the team together. So for that position, yeah, I'm going to go with Damo.
Okay, so we've got 2 and 2. So we're going on to you, Ronan. Are you going to be the tiebreaker, or are you going to book the trend and leave us at a tied game?
I probably had a bit of a think about this last night, to be honest. And I went for Damien Keane. Just again, brilliant player. Always very, very accurate batter. He's a great base minder. He has the height. Ever going from Kevin said, fantastic captain. I do want to give a special mention to Ollie on Ollie time as well. Excellent player, great player. Totally destroyed us in the last semi-final in 2019. But equally, Damien as well would have done a previous. So I've left Ollie out of this one because I think he can fit into the team. Yeah, but I'm going to go for Damien.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so that's Damien Keane on first base. So guys, moving on to second. So our nominations are Mick O'Connell from Limekiln, who has 3 senior men's titles and 6 All-Stars. We have Ollie Fitzsimons again from Erne Eagles, with the 7 men's titles and 4 All-Stars. We have Rory Tracy from the Heath, with 4 men's titles and 6 All-Stars. And we have Chris Hughes from Limekiln, with 3 senior men's titles and 4 All-Stars. So for this one, we're going to be starting off with Erne Eagles. So James, who are you picking for second base and why?
Yeah, so again, some great players in there. Michael O'Connell or Mick O'Connell, a great player. Very easy to go for him. You could go for Ollie again on second base. I think Ollie has been an all-star on second base in 3 different years. For me, to be fair, I think Rory now has been exceptional. Now, you could argue for Rory as probably a shortstop either, but I think at second base there, he's been a multiple kind of, I think 5 All-Stars there. I count on second base over maybe 6 or 7 different years. He's consistently good, very mobile, good hands, good hitter. Again, it's one of the names we always look for when we're looking at the Heath team. So probably to shade it over Ollie, I'd probably go with Rory on second, Rory Tracy.
Okay, 1 vote for Rory. So next to Limekiln, Eddie, who are you picking for second base and why?
Yeah, second base again. I would have to go for Rory. I'm tooting his horn a lot. I think he's changing the game quite a bit when it comes to his batting and how he does think about how to use the bat. And he does a lot now as well. Michael O'Connell as well is up there very tight with Rory on the fielding aspect. I'd probably put Micko ahead of Rory when it comes to fielding. But Rory's batting is just tremendous, and that they're going to another level, I wouldn't be the player that I am if it wasn't for Micko. The two of us work well together, so I've nothing but praise for Michael, but I'm going to go with Rory on the batting wise and things.
Okay, 2 votes for Rory. So next to the Heath, Kevin. Are you going to keep your allegiances, or are you going to have to look over your shoulder if Rory's after you?
Well, I suppose to echo what Eddie had said there, Micko would be outstanding to me. Such an unassuming player who delivers the goods year in, year out. Every time Micko is solid out. But I suppose kind of looking back to the Batten podcast, and it really hit home where I would repeatedly see how consistent Rory is at his batting, and that kind of brought it back to me last week when Eddie was talking about that. I know Eddie said, did he even get out last year?
I don't remember.
And I think maybe once, to be fair. So I suppose when you look at that, and he again, it's another player who's versatile, as James said, as a shortstop as well. But I have to go with Rory on this, no doubt. I'd never set foot in the Heat again if I didn't.
Okay, so that's 3 for Rory. Okay, so next, Ronan, we're going to go to you.
I went for Ollie on second, just purely because most of his All-Stars are 1 at second, if I'm honest. And again, as I said before, just a credible player. Now, look, you could toss a coin between the 3 guys, all excellent players. Rory, as you said, brilliant batter, but just for a guy I seen under pressure, just Ollie, he'd have to be in my team. Under pressure, 10 points down in the semi-final, he was hitting home run after home run. Just an incredible player. He has to be in me.
Okay. So Billy, we're going to go to you next. Who are you going to pick as your second best person?
It's not making it easy with picking a player over this anyway. But I'm going to go with Rory because his place ball is absolutely, I'd say, second to none. really, and his placement on around second base. He's never on the base. He's always off it. He's always, you know, covering the field very well. He's always looking to see where he can be. He's fast. He's no, Rory is the man I'm going with for second base.
Okay. So that's Rory Tracy there in at second base. Guys, we're going to move on to third base next. So our nominations for third base. We have Ollie Fitzsimons again from Erne Eagles with 7 men's titles and 4 All-Stars. Ollie must have played everywhere.
That's the point of Ollie, isn't it?
So, yeah. So our next nomination is Rory Tracy from the Heath. Now Rory has already gotten into the team, so we're going to disqualify him from this position. I don't think he'll mind if he's already in. So our next entry is Sean O'Grady, who most people don't know, but they know him as Ogie from Erne Eagles. He's got 11 senior men's titles and 2 All-Stars. Next we have Adam Doyle from Glenbarntown. Adam is one of the finalists for the 2020 final, which will be played hopefully soon this year. And we have Jim Riley from Erne Eagles with 13 senior men's titles and 5 All-Stars. And we have Damien McArdle as well, but Damien again has previously gotten into the team, so we're going to take him out of it. So guys, we're going to go to Eddie on this one. Eddie, who are you picking for third base and why?
For this one now, and I do feel bad because I do rate Adam Doyle's third base style. I think he could be one of the best third bases we're ever going to come across in the game. What he does there, I just really like about him. But I'm going to have to go for Ollie. I want Ollie in the dream team, and he plays everywhere, and he's such a valuable player to a team if he's in there, and he have no problem slotting in toward either as well. So for me, it's Ollie, hands down. Sorry, Adam, but I'm gonna go for Ollie.
Okay, that's 1 vote for Ollie. So next we're going to go to the Heat. Kevin, who are you picking at third base?
So yeah, I suppose I would have been a fan of Ogie in that position over the years watching him, but the exact same as Eddie. Ollie can't be left out with this team. So yeah, my vote goes to Ollie for third base.
Okay, right. That's 2 votes for Ollie. So next, Ronan, we're going to go to you. Who are you picking at third base?
If your mind's made up with that one as well, I'd have to go with Ollie. I would give a special mention to probably Jim Riley there, another guy, 13 all-out medals. You know, probably played with the greatest team of all time, year in, year out. You know, his longevity alone is huge. But just like the rest of the guys said, I just couldn't leave Ollie out of this team. Just, I think he needs to be there.
We're all friends.
Okay. And Billy, who are you going to go for third base?
Like Eddie said there about Adam, how good he is on third base, and like at the moment he's probably second to none, but Ollie has to be in the dream team. Has to be.
Okay, so I'm sensing a little bit of a pattern here. So James,
Ollie can play everywhere.
James, we're going to go to you.
Yeah,
who would you put in?
Just on third base there, again, shout about mentions there. Definitely, Adam there, a great player. I have Jim down as an all-star on third for 4 different years, and again, maybe it's gone back at 2006, 7, 9. There, he was a couple of years. He was outstanding there. I have Philip Keane down, lads, as an all-star on third on 4 different occasions. He's probably hard done by there. Again, Ogie, a great player, but I'm glad everyone has come back to Ollie there. I had a nauseous feeling in my stomach coming away from this that Ollie wouldn't be on the team after not getting on No. He really deserves to be in the team, lads. He's a quiet leader in our dressing room. He's a great hitter. So again, a bit like what Ronan said, it's kind of, you can't not have him on the team. So definitely an honourable shout out to Jim and Philip there, but I'm glad the rest of the lads, I didn't want to plug on my own men all the time. Yeah, Ollie, definitely. And
it should be said, the best part of Ollie's game is actually his smile. He lights up everybody on the pitch. It needs to be noted. He's fun. He's just terribly fun.
He can light you up in the heat of battle as well.
Still going well.
Yeah. Hey guys, that was actually a clean sweep there for Ollie on third. Okay, so next we're going to move to shortstop. So our nominations for shortstop are Tom Moore from the Heath. He's got 4 senior men's titles and 3 All-Stars. And we only have the 2 nominations here. Our other nomination is Eddie Healy from Limekiln. I'm not quite familiar with who he is. I might come across him someday. He has 3 senior men's titles and 10 All-Stars. So for this one, Kevin, we're going to go to you in the Heat. Who are you picking as shortstop?
This is definitely the one where I am actually going to get banned off the Heat for this one. I suppose, look, Tom has been exceptional in that position, but I think even Tom himself will probably have to put his hand up and say that I hope he will say that the better man here is Eddie, and there's no player in the game that wouldn't fear Eddie in the shortstop position. Just the range that you will cover Eddie is unreal, and your list of accolades that you have for this position is just unreal. Like, if a ball goes anywhere near you, it's just safe hands, good night. So yeah, Eddie gets this one from me.
Okay, 1 vote for Eddie. So Ronan, we're going to go to you next.
Yeah, obviously, as Kevin said, Tom, great player there as well. But just this man that's bottom of your screen here, just incredible player. A shortstop. Probably every team's notes at the start of the game would be just please keep the ball away from Eddie Healy. So for that alone, I think he's probably the most famous Rounders player in Ireland. Just I think Eddie's the greatest shortstop ever.
Okay, so 2 votes for Eddie. Billy, are you going to agree with the lads, or are you going to deviate away?
I'm sorry, Tom, but I'm going to go with Eddie Isley. Look, every time it's like what Ronan said. Every time you go in the field, keep the ball away from Eddie. But he seems to be everywhere. So yeah, Eddie, you have my vote.
Okay, that's 3 for Eddie. James, going to go to you next.
Yeah, definitely. You could have Tom Moore in there, but I'd probably have him somewhere else, and I'm sure he'll end up there. Rory Tracy again had a couple of good years there. Gerard Clarkin for Erne Eagles had 4 good years at shortstop. Again, a rocket of an arm, Gerard, actually. And a couple of other guys, actually. I remember Stephen Kerwin playing with Cullens was a tidy shortstop as well, and a couple of guys back from Nia Vickeline back in the day, Kevin and Patrick now, but it's unanimous there in my side. But like Eddie has, he's nearly revolutionised the shortstop position, I think, in terms of how he nearly stares down batters and adjusts himself on the field to the play. Really kind of imposing and stuff like that. And is a great ambassador for the game for, it must be 15 years now, Eddie. It's probably longer, but yeah, for me, on all of them different counts, a great leader for his club. It's Eddie all day long.
Okay, so Eddie, we're not going to make you vote for yourself or vote against yourself, but what would your thoughts be on the shortstop position in this team?
Well, the reason why I started playing shortstop at the end of the day was because of Gerard Clarkin himself from Erne Eagles, and as James said, he said 15 years. It wasn't. It was 20 years because we lost our first All-Ireland final against them. Growing up, I was always fed up what Jerry's saying, I'm the king in that spot, so I just wanted to try and prove him wrong. But look, I like playing the position, but the main reason why I like playing the position is because I love watching the other lads playing in that position. I went for Tom when I was picking there. Me and Tom over the years have been battling for that position when we were going on a good phase between who was winning the All-Irelands together. I have massive respect and love watching the Carrickmacross shortstop. I'm not sure of his name. How he stops the ball, he just grounds it down. It's just excellent.
Yeah.
And the Glenbarntown shortstop as well. He's flying. He's a really good shortstop as well. He's a joy to watch. So for me, it's a shout out to all of them. We all learn off each other in that position. So
yeah, well,
thank you.
Eddie, let me just congratulate you on getting into the team. We're going to move on to the bowler. So, and that brings us back around to our nominations. So our nominations for bowler are Chris Hughes from Limekiln. He's got 3 senior men's titles and 4 All-Stars. We have Gary Riley from Erne Eagles, who I think has 12 senior men's titles and 4 All-Stars. Dwayne Keane from the Heath with 4 senior men's titles and 7 All-Stars. Adam Reardon, Adzer, as most people know him, from Limekiln with 3 senior men's titles and 1 All-Star. And then James Anderson from Erne Eagles with 13 senior men's titles and 3 All-Stars. So, Ronan, we're going to go to you first. Who are you picking as the bowler?
Oh, look, this one's going to throw up a lot of debate. There's just so many lads that are just excellent there. But for me, I went for the guy that I probably seen the most, which was Dwayne Keane. Just a constant toner side, really. To be honest with you. He's never going to walk anyone. He's an excellent batter. Pitching's just at a standard most people will never be at. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I went for Dwayne. But I would give a special mention probably to James Anderson as well. 13 all out on medals, and you see, dropping the guy in the last innings and bang, he can win the game. Totally different way of pitching. Just for versatility as well. Special mention. Just it's both excellent players. There's so many guys you can pick in this role, but them two for me is probably up there with the best I've seen.
Yeah, I suppose this is one position that, because it's so specialised and there's such different styles, it's probably one of the hardest to pick. So, Billy, we're going to go to you next. Who are you putting in as your bowler?
Right, well, they're all great bowlers, every one of them. They've all bowled, or I've tried batting against all of them. But there is one player that I'd like to mention. My own club man, Colin Brennan, which is fabulous bowler as well.
Doing great last year,
Yeah, absolutely.
But out of all the nominations, I'll have to say Dwayne. He's I've seen him even try play him when he was injured. Now when he done his knee there, was it 3 years ago? I think it was. He's just he's probably the best bowler. He's probably the best bowler that I've ever come across. So Dwayne is my pick.
Okay, 2 votes for Dwayne there. So next we're moving on to Eddie. Eddie, who are you putting in as your bowler?
Yeah, for me, hands down, it's Gary Riley. There's nobody that's really going to compete with Gary. I love Dwayne as a bowler as well. He's a solid batter. He does everything. The next person that I would put up against Gary Riley would be yourself, Darryl. You change it up. But me going back as a kid, I think I lost 7 All-Ireland finals against Gary. And we could have had games that it was 7-6. 9-7, they were that close, but it all came down to what Gary could do in there in the pitching area. I think he also created the shortstop position again because he could actually have a batter hitting the ball big, and that's for me. That's why I thought that position came back in the game. Like I couldn't play in my position if it wasn't for Adzer or Chris challenging the batter like that, So big shout out. I think Gary changed the game a lot back then, and it's still the main force of the game now.
Okay, so that's 2-1 so far. So, Kevin, we're going to move on to you next. Who are you going to put in as your bowler?
So for this position, I would like to give a shout out to James. Just really strong in the role and very vocal within the team, which is something that I admire him for. Adzer as well was always someone that stood out. But I suppose without a shadow of a doubt, I would have to go with Dwayne here. I suppose it was through Dwayne that I got back involved with Rounders with the Heath. But what I would admire Dwayne as Billy has said there, battling through injury, all of that, but his ability to control the game from the batter position, knowing where all the players are on the pitch at any time. And just being able to get the most out of them, like his ability as pitcher to cover the entire infield. Like I would have seen so many times where like Dwayne is traveling to get an out, get a catch, almost at second base, at third base. So that inside the square was just his. He made it his own. So yeah, it's Dwayne.
Okay, so. Three for Dwayne. So James, we're just going to go to you next for your thoughts on it.
Yeah, again, some serious names in there, and straight away a shout out to Colin Brennan, who didn't make the list. Again, I think he was and is a fabulous pitcher, great variation to the game, good speed. A couple of shout outs as well. I thought Jason Cawley from St Clair's had a couple of good years there.
Yeah, Jay, yeah. Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost, yeah. And Darren, good, and Limekiln had 1 or 2 good years as well. I thought Eddie.
A lot of variation he had.
Yeah, yourself, Darryl, I would regard as a really good pitcher. But for me, like 2 warriors of the game, and I'll speak about Dwayne first. Absolutely Dwayne and Gary. For me, it would come down between them two. Like Dwayne is a competitor, again, is a warrior, and he kind of leads his team and his club by the looks of it underages by example there. I would, again, he's one of the fiercest competitors of the game. Having played with Gary for such a long time and seen Gary spearhead what we did, and I missed 1 final in 10 years. Gary didn't miss 1 final. So you're talking about a warrior, about always playing, juggling a family, a business, a couple of businesses actually. So I would, there's not much in it now. And as I said, Dwayne is to me is a super player and a warrior, but I would just give the tip of the cap to Gary.
Okay, so that means that Dwayne just shades that one 3-2. So, guys, we're going to move on to a very difficult section. So, the outfield. So, for this one, we didn't discriminate against left, centre, or right. So, if someone played in the outfield, that they were eligible for it. So, our first nomination for the outfield, Matty Dowling. So, Matty, Cuchullin's 2 senior men's titles, 5 All-Stars, and a great legend of the game. Probably our youngest player, to make the list, Erne Eagles from Carrickmacross. He's also competing in the 2020 final whenever that takes place. And Erne has 2 All-Stars to his name so far. Next up, we have James Kavanagh from the Heath with 4 senior men's titles and 2 All-Stars. We have Jay O'Reilly from Glenbarntown, who is another person who is competing in the 2020 senior final. And Jay actually he has an All-Star to his name. We have Sean O'Brady, Ogie again, from Erne Eagles, with 11 senior men's titles and 2 All-Stars. We have Colin Young, I think everyone knows him as Collie, from Limekiln with 3 senior men's titles and an All-Star. We have James Farrell from the Heath with 3 senior men's titles and 4 All-Stars. We have Colin Jordan, or as he's known in the West, Mr. Briefy. He's an absolute gentleman of a player. Next we go to Jared Clerkin from Erne Eagles. Jared has 13 senior men's titles and 4 All-Stars. We have Tom Moore from the Heath with 4 senior men's titles and 3 All-Stars. We have Kevin O'Hagan from Neve Vickle in Derry, who has a senior men's title and 5 All-Stars to his name. We have Donna Tracy appearing again from the Heath with 4 men's titles and 3 All-Stars. We have Darryl Dolan from Erne Eagles with 3 senior men's titles and 3 All-Stars. Didn't like saying that one. And then our final nominee is James McKeown from St. Clair's, who has 2 All-Stars. So for this one, we're back around to Cuchulainn. So Billy, who are you going for? You have 3 picks.
3 picks. Oh, it's made it very difficult for me now. So well, first off, anyway, all great players, absolute fabulous players that have been nominated. The first one I'm going to pick is Erne Eagles from Carrickmacross. He's a what can I say? He has an old head and young shoulders. So he's a fabulous player. He's a great outfielder. He has one of the longest throws I've ever seen from anyone for a young chap. So he's my first pick. My second pick is Colin Young from Limekiln. Every time that I see Colin up the bat, I say I have to just. That was once.
Twice. One-handed too.
Oh, but Colin he's a serious player, like, in fairness, like, not only he's fielding, but he's batting. Like, I've had the distance, and next minute he puts it out over your head on numerous occasions.
You drove him mad, you did that day.
Someone had to do it. But my final pick, I think, my own club man, Matty Dowling, I'll have to go with. Cool under pressure. He's so laid back. I'm serious, lads. I don't know how he does it. He's an amazing player. I have the utmost respect for Matty there. So they're my 3 nominations.
Okay, so that's Oren, Collie, and Matty. So next, James, we're going to go to you. Who are you going to put in your outfield?
Yeah, Jesus, there's some serious players in there. Like,
and guys, can I just say, if you do need me to go through them again, like just
no, I
afraid
have
to
them
say.
here. Yeah, again, great players like James Farrell there from the Heath is a great player. James Kavanagh is a great player, a great character as well. James McKeown, or Stan, was he's known for some players, a great player. Matty Dowling, an exceptional player. He's an all-star for 4 or 5 years in a row. Tom Moore, again, we would, again, always look to see where he's playing. Another man that very rarely steps out, and probably yourself, Darryl, and Colin Young. Colin Young's a super hitter, and a great player as well. Donna Tracy there as well. You're going
through them all, James.
If I had to call it, guys, if I had to call, and again, it's probably
you do.
Yeah, I'm going to call it now. So, not many people will remember actually this first fella, but I tell you something, he was some hitter back in the day. He got about 4 or 5 all-stars, probably a couple of shortstop. But Kevin O'Hagan from Nea Vicaleen, lads, I swear to God, he could hit either side. And it was usually a treble, and kind of that was me and Gary. Kind of we used to nearly do separate innings with him. Now he's a super player, super hitter. Mightn't be for everyone on this call. The next I'm going to go with, jeez, I can't believe I'm leaving these guys out. The next I'm going to go with probably, and it's a very shaded for himself and probably Tom Moore, but I'd probably go with Matty Dowling there. Again, a couple of fantastic years with Cucullins there. Serious hitter, cool under pressure. Can't remember him getting out all that much, to be honest. And then the last spot, and again, I'm not. Again, this is an honest opinion. I think probably Darryl, yourself there. I think you have everything there in terms of speed, catching the ball. Again, switching on that 2019 final there, we were struggling to catch balls. We stuck you out there, and whatever way it went out, 20, 30 yards to the right, left, left hand, one-handed, I'd stick it in there. A very honourable mentions to Tom Moore, and probably to Oren there with Carrick there, a super young but great prospect for the future, and Jay O'Reilly and James Kavanagh. So I leave it at that, but it's a very tough call, lads.
Okay, so next, Eddie, we're going to go to you. Who are you putting in your outfield? If you want to list them again, I think I've heard them about 3 times so far.
What a list, and to even put it on, who are we missing as well? He's on the call as well, isn't he? Healy's at having a super 3 years there, and people that tend to forget this part. But the players that even haven't made this list is what has you shocked. Adam Reardon as well. He's been playing outfield too. Bowler and an outfielder. It's like, God, the Glenbarntown left outfield at the moment. He's playing super out there. So Oren is. If we're going to do these 3 teams over and over, Oren is going to get into this team eventually. So if he keeps playing the way he does. That one-handed catch, you don't like seeing it, but he always catches it. So I don't know. It defies me to see it, but it's a joy to watch. You love watching it happen. My picks, I'm going to go with Matty. Because, again, when we were younger, he was another fella that wanted to change the game. He didn't want it. He was a right-handed batter. He didn't want to hit it between second and third. He wanted to hit it over first and second. He wanted gaps. He wanted all that. So he changed an idea of batting to everybody else. And again, he was very hard to get out. And when he wanted to hit one, he'd let you have it as well. I'm going to go for James from the Heath as well. He's the left-handed batter, but he shifts the field around and he wants to hit it over third. And his hands are very safe as well. He's also versatile. He can play in bowler if he wants. If he wanted to play there. But such a monster hit. I think I remember playing the Heat, and he hit a whole holy pitch. I was at the end of it trying to catch it, so I know how far it was away. But it was phenomenal. So James goes into the team for me, and as well, Darryl, it's going to be you. You're going to go in there for me as well. You're versatile. You can do what you want, and the amount of ground you can cover to get underneath the ball, and you're not diving for the ball, you're not catching it. You could be 20 meters away, 30 meters away, but you're timing to get under it and collect it. You're already under it, and you have your 2 hands there, and it's caught, and it's something that you just see. You just pick up pace as the ball's dropping. You go faster and faster to get it, and it's again. So that's my 3: Darryl, Matty, and James.
Okay, I'm trying to keep track of all the votes here, so I think this is definitely going to be this is going to be the tricky one. Okay, so next, Kevin, who are you going to put in your outfield?
Yeah, look, as the lads are saying, this is the impossible one. Like, just the talent that's there in that list. I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna actually start sounding like the two boys now and start listing out everyone again with a special mention. But I suppose kind of like the standouts for me of the ones that I don't think I'm going to pick. I still haven't decided. This is actually really Collie would 100% stand out. So special shout out there. Donna as an outfield, when he played outfield, was exceptional, but it's not his natural position to me. Tom again. But okay, so again, right, Kevin.
You've only one or two more to do before you have the whole list done.
I know, yeah, I still have to pick three, don't I? So I suppose the ones that have really kind of stood out for me over the years is Matty. Matty would have been kind of like a thorn in our side over the years. It's like that. It's like what we were saying earlier about Eddie. Just keep it away from Eddie. That would have been us for outfield against Cuchulainn. Always keep it away from Matty. And he always made it seem effortless. All right. I suppose, look, the Oren, for a young player coming up to really make an impact, is exceptional. But I kind of got to chicken out of that nearly like Eddie did. And Oren with so much left, we can't put him in at this stage.
He will get there. He still needs to get his baton.
He's coming, like, you know, definitely. Look, James Farrell is I'm going to pick Farley. Just that the package of Farley with his hits, with his being reliable, and then his sliding catches outfield. Farley on his day is just phenomenal out there. And then it's between two more of my own clubmates then for the last shout. And I'm going to go with James Kavanagh. The reason being, again, it's that versatility. Like James, you can put down as being responsible for so many runs scored for the Heat over the years with those savage hits. That literally you're kind of going, that is gone well out of the park. But again, just as well, there's been so many of James's catches that he's doing that sliding catch, and you're on the sideline going, oh, he didn't get it, and then you see the hand, and it's like going, yeah, phenomenal. So yeah, finally, there's my three.
Okay, so just to recap, you went with Matty and the two Jameses, Farley and Kavanagh. Yeah.
Like after mentioning everybody else on the list, obviously.
That's why I just want
obligatory.
Okay, so Ronan, we're going to go to you next. Who are you putting in your outfield?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to bore you. The lads probably covered everything there, but most of the guys have some brilliant players. But for me, it's outfield to me is to do with pressure. It's about guys who's going to win a game for you at the end of the day. For me, I can't leave someone like James Farley out. Just brilliant player, excellent batter, has everything. Probably one of the best players ever I've seen, especially under pressure. Again, in that semi-final, he was the real leader, and not just that, he has the medals to cope with that as well. The second fella I'd probably go for is Darryl Dolan, for just versatility as well, pressure. Yeah, he's ice cool under pressure, as I'd say, and you can obviously slot him in as a pitcher. And the last guy, I'll probably get crucified for this, but I couldn't leave Owen out of my team. 22 years of age, just the guy,
he's in the room, isn't he?
The guy was just from the very start. He just stood out a mile. You know, he was up at one hand, and he was. If you were batting against him and you hit it out them, you're simply going to be taking a seat. But you know, there's so many guys you could pick, but I couldn't leave him out of the team. Just what he's done for us for the last 5 or 6 years. I don't think we would probably have made 2 senior finals without him, and for that reason, he has to be in the team.
So, guys, at the end of that, it's kind of nearly non-conclusive. So we have Matty gets in. Matty has 4 votes. Can't believe myself with 3. And so for our third spot, we actually have a 3-way tie. So between Oren, James Kavanagh, and James Farrell. So to settle this, just because of the way the votes fell, James, we're going to go to you, and we're going to let you choose the third outfielder between all of those. So who are you going for?
Yeah, well, it could be any one of them. Darryl, to be honest, all great players. To me, the guy I've seen most of, and the guy that clear runs in, I think Kevin mentioned it there, when bases are loaded and bring in stacks of runs, I'm going to go for James Kavanagh.
Okay, so that
Again,
means James.
Good character around the place as well, to be fair to him.
Yeah, so guys, that leaves us with a final team of Damien McArdle at catcher, first base Damien Keane, second base Rory Tracy, shortstop Eddie Healy, third base Ollie Fitzsimons, the bowlers Dwayne Keane, and our outfield Matty Dowling, Darryl Dolan, and James Kavanagh. So guys, what do we think of that team? Would we just want to make any changes at this stage, or do you think that's a strong team?
That's solid. Yeah, happy with that.
You could have 2 teams, to be honest.
You could have. How does Gary Riley not get in there? And I know you have to contest it, but how does Gary Riley not get in?
Yeah. Not enough people voted for him, Eddie. That's right.
Dwayne deserves it as well, but to me, I think Gary changed the whole. He changed the bowler position for me, so that's why we're just wondering, how does he not get in?
Guys, just as a matter of interest, do you think that the majority of people would agree with the team that just picked, or that everyone's going to have a different team?
I think there's going to be a couple of controversial ones in it, just because, like as Eddie was just saying there, just with the choice. But I suppose, there's been tough decisions. So yeah, of course, people are going to be disappointed with that.
Yeah, what would you do with a batting order?
that's for another day. And Ronan, I'm just going to go to you before we do our next bit. What would your thoughts on it be?
There's so many good players out there at the minute. It's probably the thing that bothers me the most since I took up Rounders is that maybe people don't know them on that. But some of the guys out there, there's some guys on that list that can play in 3 different positions and 1 All-Stars. And you're never going to see guys like that probably again, to be honest with you. So yeah, there's a lot of people that'll probably have different opinions on that. But just when it comes down to it, if you look at that team, it's probably fairly flawless, to be honest. And if you were to pick, I'd be interested to know what you think, lads. If you were to pick 3 subs on this team,
yeah, I wanted 3 subs. I want them.
That's the way the game's gone, lads. You see teams now, you actually need them.
Yeah. Especially 7 in it. Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely need them.
9.
I'd pick some team now as well if I could. So look, like James said, you could have picked 2 teams, but I think it's fairly on the money.
Right. Okay. And Ronan, I'm going to go round the order here. So Ronan, if you put your men's team up against it, how would they do?
I don't know. I actually don't know. What?
Carrick win.
I would have said last year, probably because we got to the final. I suppose a lot of people would have said, yeah, we were playing well. I think the previous year to that, we lost the time. I think we were actually probably playing a little bit better. The lockdown, I think, suited us this year because, not as many teams had a run on us with games because we don't play mixed or that, and not as many teams had a run on us. But yeah, I think we do all right.
Okay. And Billy, how do you think your team would fare, or say like even in the peak when you were winning All Irelands in like 2009, 2010?
I'd be making sure Matty Dowling was playing with us. That's first thing I'd be doing anyway. Look, our peak, we would have given it a good go, alright. But we're going to get back there at some stage again, so we are hopefully. God willing, we will.
And James, how do you think this team would stack up against the 10 in a row team?
I'll tell you something. If you pick the 9 best players from the 10 in a row team, it'd give them a game. Yeah.
The problem will be picking the 9 best players from the 10 in a row.
I tell you, it wouldn't be as civilized as this, Ronan.
And Eddie, what would your thoughts be?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about the 10 in a row right there. And the one thing that dream team doesn't have is what the 10 in a row have there. They have Gary. That would be an interesting game when you think about it. But how would Limekiln pair up against that team? Over the years, we don't have a lot of big hitters, so we might get punished that way. So a lot of the infield might be taken out of it. So yeah, might be tight, but I'd say we'd lose on the outfield of the Maher.
Okay. And Kevin, what would you think? How would the Heat stack up? I know there's
there's
four Heat players in there, but like say with those players and you're playing against those same players,
and you can drop them.
What would you reckon?
Look, it's tough going. I just kind of be thinking that there's elements of that team that would give the Heat a run for the money. But if you take the Heat going back like a couple of years ago when they were, like, I would say in the prime, like the year before last, was a pretty impressive setup. But yeah, look, I think we've done well with that team. It is pretty strong. You'd like to think that your team on All Ireland Day would be able to beat whatever was put up against you. So I'm just going to be cocky at this stage and go, nah, the Heat would have that.
I suppose
you're playing as well, are you?
I'm playing the numbers on the sideline, Eddie.
Yeah. You could be the manager.
Something, guys, that team has that I suppose no one has maybe mentioned too much is that it's actually a team full of leaders. So, like, if anyone on that team is dropping, there's 8 other players there that are going to be able to help them lift their game. Like, and like that's kind of unquantifiable, really, in a game. If you would agree with that.
Yeah.
One of the biggest leaders in the game is actually missing on that dream team, and James, isn't it? James always keeps digging you out when you're in trouble there as well. So
absolutely.
If there's someone, Darryl, you're getting away too late here. Like,
I disagree. This is the hard end of it.
Who do you think we left out?
Oh, say them was Billy. Billy could easily get in there for me.
Billy, Gary, yeah.
It depends
Gary,
on what
definitely.
position you're looking at. Like, I mean,
I can't believe Gary didn't make it.
There's a lot of players, like obviously James there, like is one of the mainstays for me, and one that I think has dug us out of holes several occasions. Jared Clarkin.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're down and he's coming up to bat, and I'm sure that your teams have been on the receiving end of him.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, again, another player that can hit off his left, hit off his right, and that
was probably his downfall to his game. He kept messing with the bat over the years.
And he tried to do too much. Exactly.
Yeah, that was it. He kept trying to prick him. He ended up making himself look silly as well sometimes.
No, but you're right, Eddie. He played too many. Like, a couple of years as shortstop, he was unreal. And then again, for the sake of team, we put him right outfield. He could have played on first base, second base there, and he probably doing too much there. But like, a couple of brilliant. The same with Jim Riley. Jim Riley had a couple of years at third, left outfield there, where it was like yeah, you couldn't hit it anywhere near him, and he always came under it there. And
a lot of that came out to Gary Riley though.
Yeah, no, sorry. Well, the ball popping up in the air, exactly. The ball popping up off a good pitch or a clever inside pitch. Again, like Mick O'Connell there, to me, again, could feel hard up by. Yeah.
You knew what you were. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So guys, just to wrap it up, we actually asked a panel of people to submit their team and to agree on one. Just catches on the hop, and I want to know how you think that they would play. So I'm going to get it up on screen now for you at home.
I'd imagine it's modern, and that's going to get us going.
So here's our team that we've picked today, and our panel says. So catcher, we have Damien McArdle again. First base, Kenneth Nolan.
Good player. Yeah.
No mentions today. Ollie Fitzsimon's got the shout at second base. Eddie is in again at shortstop. Third base, Jim Riley makes it in. At bowler, all the shout outs to Colin Brennan. He made it on our panel's team. And in the outfield of James Kavanagh, Billy Connors is there, and Oren Kieran.
Okay.
So which team do you think is stronger? Do you think the team that you have gone with, or the team from the secret panel? So we'll start. Ronan, which team do you think is going to would be successful in the game?
I think the team we picked, to be honest, probably would, because a lot of them guys are on the team we picked tonight that are still very, very young, and a lot of them have a lot of experience. For that, I think our team would just shade it. But like, obviously, it'll come down to the toss of the coin at the end of the day, who's batting first and stuff like that will come into it. But I think it'll be very close.
Okay, Billy, we'll come to you later on, because you've been named in one of the teams. So, James, which team do you think would?
I'll tell you, whichever team performed in the day, Darryl, there'd be very little in it. I couldn't honestly say that kind of our team would run away with it again. Some players in that team, Colin, Billy there, kind of rightly kind of in that team there. So there'd be a hair's breadth in it, whoever performed over 7 innings. I'm sure there'd be a final.
Kevin, which team do you think would be the stronger of the two?
Look, 100%. Like if you go through the people that are on the other team that we have left out, they've been highly commended by the panel here as well. Like we have given them good thought, with the exception of Ken. I think was the only one that we didn't have in our nominations. So yeah, it will be strong, but I'd be happy to stand over our team as being a good decision tonight.
Okay, and Eddie, is there anyone there that you're looking and you're like, I can't believe they left out this player? I know you're saying for your own team about Gary, because you won't let the guys live it up. But is there anyone else on that other team that you're looking and say, Jesus, I cannot believe that such and such was left off that team?
No, it's the opposite. It's great to see that the secret panel have put the likes of Billy Connors and Jim Riley in there, because that would put a spanner in the works for our team. But I would think, in general, if you look at the team that we picked, we picked a lot of smart batters. There's a lot of smart batters in there that have variation, and they change direction and where they want to go. So I think it's hedged. But as James said, it's on the day. It really is on the day. If you have the wind going against you, well, your batting's gone, isn't it?
And so, Billy, we're going to bring it back to you then. How would you feel against fielding with that team against the team that you have picked here tonight?
One hell of a game, so it would be one hell of a game.
Pay-per-view.
Look, two fabulous teams, but I'd still go with the one that we picked. Just shading it by a hair.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the beauty of it, that everyone has their own opinion, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people will agree and a lot of people will disagree. So, guys, thanks a million for coming on. And I just ask everyone at home, when you're watching this, put in the comments what your dream team would be. So, guys, thanks a million for taking the time out of your day to come on here and do this, and really show the players. Like I know it was mentioned earlier that there's maybe some players that aren't well known in the game of Rounders, but definitely we're after kind of putting a bit of a title on some of the players. So, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
No bother. Great.
On yourself.
Great fun. Look at it,
Thanks very much. Yeah, brilliant.